how y'all doing out there? This is Pete. We're over at D.I.Y. Auto School. And what we're going to learn today, we're going to learn how to properly block sand 2K primer. This is 2K urethane primer. This is a super high build primer. And we are going to learn how to block sand it for paint. This is a very important lesson, so I hope you stick with me through the whole thing. If it gets boring, grit your teeth, because I guarantee you in the end, you're going to be glad you watched it.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to make sure that we got good respirator action. We want to protect ourselves from all the dust. You can see that I'm filthy dirty, and I've been doing this all day. So it's very important to protect yourself from the elements. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to get a short throw. This is a Palm DA sander. It's the short throw finish sander. This is not a dual action sander. And the way that you can tell it is a finish sander is because it's a palm action, okay? Palm action sander, that's what you want. The next thing that you're going to use is you're going to be using 180 grit DA sandpaper. I don't care if you got the hook and loop or the stick-on. It has to be 180. Now what we're doing with our DA sander and our 180, we are breaking down the glaze coat that is on the top of this primer. We are not sanding the primer for paint ready action. We are just roughing it up so when we go to hand sand, block sand it, it will be nice and smooth. It won't gum the paper up. It'll be fast and it'll be efficient. So when we caught us as we were doing the video at the beginning, that's what you saw me doing right here. I was taking my palm sander at a medium speed. I'm not using it at a very high speed. I'm using it at a medium speed. I got my air gauge, air system set where it's medium, and I was very lightly going like this, following the contour of the door, all right? Nice and easy, just like this. That's what I want to do. If you notice, if you look at this door has a guide coat on it. Very important. As you are using your DA sander, you need to look very good where you're at. I notice right in this area right here, we got some deep scratches. So that's what the guide coat is good for. When you're using that DA sander to get that glaze coat off, it's going to show you where your high spots or low spots are. So we got some deep 180 scratches here that didn't get filled in all the way. So we'll know that when we go to block sand it. So we're going to take our DA sander, and you can see right here, all right, here's low, and then this is high. We don't want to use it on high. We want to turn it down to a medium speed, right in the middle, all right? Another thing about using that DA sander, I'm going to tell you, these are required to be oiled at least once a week. Do not put any oil in it while you are sanding your primer. Only put oil in it when you're doing the body work or possibly feathering out paint or whatever. But when it comes to the finished side of doing this, do not put any oil in your air tool at all. We don't want to put oil in it. We don't want to penetrate it. We're going to take our DA and we're just going to go nice and lightly up and down, just like this. Just to remove the glaze coat, and actually we're going to remove most of the guide coat. The only thing that'll be left is high spots or possibly, low spots or possibly deep scratches. Okay, now that we went over our door with our DA sander, remember, this is a palm sander. It's a short throw finish sander. It is not an industrial DA sander to use as a tool to do what we're doing here, okay? There's a long throw DA sander and there's a short throw. 99% of the palm sanders are short throw sanders, and that's what you want. So we went ahead and DA'd that down. We took the glaze off, and we also busted through the guide coat. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. The only spot that I found that was a low spot was right here, and I say that because there's, it looks like 80 grit scratches that we didn't get out when we blocked it out for primer. But the rest of it really looks good. And the next step that we are going to do is going to be with this sander right here. And I'm going to go ahead and explain this sander to you. This is a very high quality professional sander, and it's a flexible sander. You can see how it flexes. It's got a lot of weight to it, all right? And it basically sands by itself. The only thing you do is guide it. So it's very important, if you want to do a professional job, to have the proper sanders to do the job for you. The other sander we got is this foam pad, all right? And it's semi-hard on one side, soft on the other side. I'm using the semi-hard side, and the paper that we're using is 180 grit. So this is just 180 grit dry. We're not using wet sanding. We're not doing any of that. We're doing dry sanding throughout the whole situation. I want to go ahead and tell you about a certain type of sanding block that is on the market. It's called DuraBlock. Now, these are the most popular hand blocks that you can buy. DuraBlocks are good for doing body work such as Bondo, roughing it in, and for collision repairs. They don't have any weight to them. They don't have any type of structure. Okay, the finish on, look at the finish on this. All right, this is a solid finish surface, whereas the DuraBlock is the foam rubber. What I'm trying to say here is do not use DuraBlocks when you're restoring a vehicle to the magnitude that we're doing this. And when I say that, I'm talking the finish sand job. You do not want to use DuraBlocks. You want to have a high quality block like this one. And this one here is from a company, and they're called Black Diamond. He makes 3 size blocks, I believe. He makes this small one, he makes a bigger one, and then he makes a 24-inch, so 2-footer. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our hand block. Now, another thing I want you to pay attention to is I don't use my blower. Okay, you see how I'm getting rid of all that dust on here? I use a dust broom. That's what I use. I keep it right here where I need it. And then we're going to take this one here. This one is actually going to be our finish. This will be the one we use last. And we're going to take our block sander with our 180 on it, and we're going to start blocking this out. And you can't see it, but as I'm hand blocking it, those deep scratches are pretty much gone. When you're blocking your primer, you don't want to use a lot of force. If you have a good block like I'm using, the block will do the work for you. You don't have to worry about it. All right? You see how I clean that off? Look at here. All right, look at that. We want a nice, clean, flat surface is what we want. Now I noticed down here, my DA sander did not hit the primer in this area. So we're going to have to really concentrate on that using our block. Now you also notice I haven't changed my sandpaper. Alright, if you let the sander do the work for you, you will not gum your paper up and it will last a lot longer. So that's another reason we want to make sure that we're not using a lot of force while we're doing it. We're letting the weight of the sander do the sanding. Do you see how I'm holding this? Look how I'm holding my sander. Very important. Just guide the block sander to your benefit, okay? And that feels as very, very smooth. Now, one thing I do want to tell you, we have to go back over this and repeat our process with 320. All right, once we get all this sanded out, then we'll come back and we'll use the same blocks, this one and the other one that I'm going to get ready to use, and we will go over the whole panel with 320 to finish it out for sanding, for paint job. So what you're seeing me do now is exactly what I will do with the 320. Okay, I told you we had another sander and I showed it to you, and this is where we're going to finish it out to move down the line to do our other panel over here. So I'm going to go ahead and take my semi-soft, semi-hard. You can see how flexible this is right here. Okay, and this is where we're going to get this curve right here. We're also going to get our hinges. We're going to get right here. We'll get in this area here using this block. And everything that you see me do, I am using a block. Okay, it's very important that when you finish sand, when you're doing a finished sand job, that you use a block on everything. You don't use your hand. And another thing that's really important is you don't want to break through the primer like I did right here. Okay? Do you see where I broke through the primer right there? We're trying not to do that, so be very careful when you're sanding and pay attention to everything you're doing, because you do not want to break through the primer. But I hate to disappoint you, you will break through the primer. And what that does is that means you'll have to come back and spot prime that area, and then when it's time to 320 sand it, you'll go over that with 320 sandpaper. So you will break through the primer, but we're trying not to. Does that make any sense? But it's going to be irrelevant that you will. All this sander here is used for to go around the edges and clean everything up. That's it. We do not want to use this as a block sander on the whole door. But on the other hand, I am going to take this sander and lightly scuff it down without using any pressure whatsoever. I'm going to go ahead and take my sander and look what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go ahead and get the bottom of that door. Wherever there's going to be paint, you got to sand. We're going to go ahead and take our paper off of our rubber block. I'm going to fold it in half like this. And now I can go ahead and get into my door handle cup right here. And it's pretty much irrelevant that you're going to have to use your hand on that. Not going to be able to use a block in here. And then we're going to get this lip right here. We'll go ahead and sand that down while we're at it. And then one more thing that we got to do to this door before we go any further is we have to sand these edges down right here. Just like you see me doing. Just like that. And that panel is now ready for a final quick sand job of 320 to be painted. Now let me go ahead and tell you something else. If this was a collision job, we wouldn't have to go to the extreme of 320. We would go ahead and paint it right there with 180. But being a restoration job, we're going to take it one step further and repeat our process with the 320, and then that will be a finished panel ready for paint. So it is very simple, it's easy, it's quick, and if you take your time, it's kind of an enjoyable situation because it gives you the satisfaction that you're doing it the right way. Kind of like you see me cleaning this edge up here because paint's going to be in here and I want to make sure the paint sticks. So there you go. So to do a sand job right, to make it paint ready the way that you should make it paint ready, you can see it takes minimal tools to do it. Very quick, very efficient, and very accurate, and very fast. That's what we want. We want to get the job done. We want to get it ready for paint. We want to get the job painted. We want to get it smooth as glass so when we paint it, it's going to be easy to color sand and buff, because whatever is under your finished job, which is your prep job, that's going to be your paint job. So the better you prep your surface, the more accurate and precise and better the finished job is going to be. My friend Pete, your friend Pete, showing you how to use this stuff to do that.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.